Well, good morning, everyone. It is the last Tuesday that you will hear from me in August of 2014. Unbelievable, huh? Just seemed like we were talking about that through July, but it is August 26th, 2014 already. It is already probably getting close to 80 here in Indianapolis. We're expecting some extremely warm weather, and I'm saying that extremely with the fact that it has not been real warm this summer here in Indy. It's 72 here. We haven't ventured much out of the 80s at all, lower 80s for much of this summer. My tomatoes just now are starting to turn red, so it's been a little unusual, but we seem to be in a hot streak going on. It's supposed to be in the upper 80s. Woo-hoo. Not quite 90, but we're getting there. 88 today, 87 tomorrow, 86 after that. And then we're going to, looks like, drop back down into the upper 70s. But you know what happens when it gets a little warm? That heat usually goes away somehow, and usually by strong thunderstorms. So, as always, keep your eyes to the sky. Pay attention to what's going on around you. But yes, we are expecting some rather strong thunderstorms over the next few days. Yesterday, well, actually, it's been the last few storms that we've had here. It's been remarkable, the thunder and lightning that has gone on with these storms, to the point that, other members of my family have made remarks about it. And they don't usually do that. Usually it's like, oh, cool, it's a thunderstorm, let's go to sleep. And I'm standing there, wide-eyed, and I'll just wait for a little bit, just to keep an eye on things. But, just some remarkable thunder and lightning going on. Yesterday's thunder alone was a little window shaking going on. So, just some odd weather. I know Farmer's Almanac has come out now and said that this winter they're predicting to be worse than last year. And last year here in Indianapolis, we had record snowfall, over 100 inches of snow. And it was to the point, and I've said this in the past, I thoroughly enjoy winter. I like the colder temps. I prefer around 60, 70 degrees, but, I'll take the snow any day over the 90, 100 plus, which is supposed to shoot up through the south over the next few days. So stay hydrated down there. But even last year, I was getting to the point where it's like, okay, enough is enough. It's time to move on. We need to get on with our lives. And, we've seen enough. You've made your point. But Farmer's Almanac has come out here recently and said that it's supposed to be worse than last year. So get ahead of it. We're in August, so if you're starting now, you might, still be able to get everything done. But get your winter preps in, get them started. I know quite a few people are already collecting firewood. Quite honestly, if you're collecting firewood for winter now, you're a little late. It should have happened last year. To make sure that it's seasoned properly. So, unless you're already collecting seasoned wood, you're a little behind. But make sure that you have, alternate means of heating your home. We've seen the price of natural gas and all of those lovely things that we heat our homes with, electricity, all that kind of stuff, increase dramatically over the last couple years. Don't expect it to not do it again this winter. So just take precautions and do what you need to do in order to keep your family safe and warm and snuggly this winter. Make sure you have plastic or some kind of quilts or something to hang over your windows in case you need to. Candles are not my first option for lighting or heating or anything like that, just because of the security aspects of it. The safety aspects. We've seen too many houses burn down because a candle has fallen over. I think in this day and age, it's funny, we were talking about this the other day, when you talk about being a prepper, the first thought most people have is we're going to go back to living in the dark ages, and that's not what we need to do. So there are lots of newfangled, and I'm going to use this term because he's one of my favorite guys out there, geeky kind of technology out there that we can get into and bring preparedness into this century. So candles, I love candles, don't get me wrong. I have tons of them, but I think they need to be utilized in a safe environment. And we have lots of other alternative methods of using for lighting and heating than candles. So dig into it, see what you can find out. We have an Amazon store if you were to go there, where the only things in there are things that I own and would suggest and recommend. So there are lots of solar type lighting out there that you can get. Would I recommend bringing in your solar patio lights? Yeah, if it's a last-ditch effort and that's all you had, I think it's been proven over and over again that they're not the brightest things when they're used inside, but in an emergency situation, hey, if it's all you got, then use it. But there are other forms of lighting out there that are solar-powered, specifically made for indoor lighting that are much brighter. And not that expensive. You can get a good one for like $10-20 at the most. Some of these also are hand cranked. A lot of good storm radios out there. Make sure you have that. Hurricane season is in full force, and the South Florida East Coast hasn't been hit by anything significant yet this year. A little bit. It seems like this weather this year in the United States has mostly been wrapped up in flooding. So, your preps are not going to do you a whole lot of good if it's flooding out and you can't get them out of there. So think about that. Another thing I'd remind you, when you're looking at places to store your preps, one of the things that we've talked about, you always want to keep them in a temperature stable environment. So garages, things like that, are not the best option. But if, you do what you got to do with what you have. But, everybody thinks, we have our stuff in the basement. Basements flood, first of all, just an FYI. Sewers can get backed up. And for some reason, if the power does go down, your basement humidity level, the amount of, what word am I looking for? Just rethink how your basement would react if it did not have power to it. Let's put it that way. Would it be the best option to store some of your preps in? So just a word of caution there. Just think about it. We always look at places to store our preps when the power is on and everything is great. But how does the environment change when the power is no longer on? So do a test. I know some of the chicks are looking at doing a downgrade test this weekend. Starting on Friday, all power goes off. And they're going to test out and see how things would go over the weekend without any electricity at all. So looking forward to seeing their results. Unfortunately, I have to work, so that isn't going to happen in my house. But we've done it plenty of times before. Have a very good idea. And quite honestly, sometimes I look forward to not having power, especially when my phone dies. So that's always a plus. Good news this past week. Well, it's been a week and one day. Finally got my book out. Yay. So Alpha Farms, the beginning, first book is out. And I'm quite happy with some of the results, with some of the reviews. So I thank everyone who has gone on to Amazon and left a comment pertaining to how they liked the book. It was a interesting voyage to take, I can tell you that, trying to go between writing a tech manual, which Lord knows we have enough of those out there, and writing something that was a work of fiction and trying to meld the two together. So I'm hoping, it continues to get good reviews. It sure was, a lot of 4 a.m., 5 a.m., I have no life left because I work a full-time job, too, on top of this and everything else. So started book 2 already, and hoping to possibly have it wrapped up by Christmas. So don't quote me there, and I'm knocking on wood, but some more late nights, and a lot more late nights, quite honestly. And hopefully we can get that wrapped up and out before Christmas. So that's the plan. We'll work the plan, but sometimes you have to improvise, adapt, and overcome. So, in the news, a few things besides the weather. I know there's a volcano that's getting ready to erupt in Iceland. So if you live across the pond in the Great UK, have a backup plan for travel purposes. Anyone in that area over there, if this thing goes, and it's more centrally located than the last one that blew up over there, it's going to possibly disrupt a lot of travel through Great Britain and in that general vicinity. So have a backup plan if you are a traveler. The other thing that you need to think about is the timing of this could bring a whole world of hurt to a lot of people this winter, because if this thing goes, it's going to make the winters over there a lot worse than they normally are. So please take some precautions. Get some extra supplies in. I don't see how this thing is not going to blow up, quite honestly. But definitely something that you need to pay attention to and get prepared for now. Because you don't want to be caught up in what we've seen 1,000 times now, the panic that ensues when people figure it out. And they know that they're a little late to the game. California saw a nice sized quake in the Napa Valley. And most of my friends were like, oh my goodness, not the wine. Some people got hurt. I think upwards of 100 people. And did quite a bit of damage. Last I heard was upwards of $1 billion. Not a great area to be in my opinion. Is it a precursor to a bigger one? It's possible. I mean, they the easiest thing to do is say, oh, the big one's coming. We don't know when, we don't know where, but it seems to still cause a lot of panic. I know people that slept through this last one, didn't even realize it happened, but I know some other people that totally freaked out. So, if you live in that area, just make sure that you're ready for an earthquake at all times. One thing that we've seen over and over and over again, especially when people are showing off their pantry and all their new canning and stuff, is a lot of them have no safety when it comes to an earthquake. And even in areas that aren't prone to earthquakes, always your prep should have, if it's a pantry, you've seen it, the nice wooden cabinets and all of the pretty jars of new canning products out there that they just did from their garden. Just put a bar across the front to keep things from falling out. It's the simplest thing to do, and make sure the thing is attached to the wall. Seen it over and over and over again. And obviously, we were looking at pictures of the wine bottles that were laying in the middle of the aisles after this last earthquake, and it's like just a travesty, and could have easily been fixed, by putting some kind of bracket across the front. But think about it. Keep your prep safe too. Everything needs to stay safe. Other than that, the biggest thing in the news, Ebola's not going away anytime soon. A lot of fear out there, a lot of misinformation. You read one thing, and 2 seconds later you can pick a story out that completely disses it and says something completely different. Is it my biggest concern here where I live? No, not necessarily. If I had to say there was one thing out there that was the biggest concern for me, globally, let's say, I would say this ISIS thing has got my attention. Their way of doing things concerns me. And I know that, when was it? Today, Obama has decided that he's going to send drones over Syria to keep an eye on them. I'm sure that's going to go over really well. Not that they don't need kept an eye on, but they seem to have it out for and have made threats against the United States to begin with. And that being said, their threats are no longer overseas. They're bringing these threats home. Am I panicked? No. Am I keeping my eyes and ears open? Most definitely. Looking for things that aren't normal. So when you're driving around town or whatnot, just keep an eye out. I don't want to let fear rule me. I know how to shoot. I know what needs to be done if need be. But and the biggest thing think about is we're coming into a season. If you were a group like this, who would you target? Would be places with people, with a lot of places that are going to hold a lot of people. So easy targets would be schools to begin with. Our kids just went back to school. Well, I homeschool, so I don't have to worry about that anymore, which is, I can honestly say, an awesome feeling. Not worrying about my child in the care of someone else. Football stadiums. Football season, I think the Colts have their first game here coming up September 7th, I think. Those kind of things aren't my cup of tea anyways, so I stay clear of them to begin with. But the other place, too, and I know we just had a security drill here last weekend in a mall that's not too far from me, is in Greenwood, which is south of Indianapolis. I was reading about, and you could not get close to. It was cut off to the public. Nothing that you could even see. But the malls, we're getting ready to ramp up Christmas season, and the malls are just going to be packed. I mean, that mall specifically here is usually pretty full to begin with at any given time. And you get into Christmas season, and it is just wall-to-wall people. So we set ourselves up sometimes to be easy targets. If you are going someplace, just take extra precautions, situational awareness, pay attention to what's going on around you, and do what you need to do to keep your family safe. If you do go to the mall, make sure you know where there are emergency exits at all times. Those would be my biggest concerns if they were going to attack here on our soil. I think, though, after the first time they attempted, it would be all over with, because we have too many people here that would counterattack. So, on from there. Let me get moving here. I know, FYI, Doom and Bloom just put out some earthquake safety, so if you're not on their website, please do so. doomandbloom.net. A lot of great information. And an actual physician and his wife is a nurse, and they do a great job of putting out a lot of great information. And they happen to be, I have known them for quite a while, and put them in my Alpha Farms book with some information on what's funny. This past week, I ended up with a kidney infection. And if you've not had one, you don't want one. I can assure you of that. But ended up going to the doctor. Yes, I know, it was a delayed visit to the doctor based on a multitude of reasoning there, but I ended up eventually there and got some antibiotics they put me on, along with some pain meds, because it's freaking miserable, I can tell you, to have a kidney infection. And I had a pretty good idea what was going on to begin with, and just couldn't drag myself to the doctor. It happened that the infection, the bad part with the fever and everything, kicked in on the same night that my dad had passed away years ago. And he died from kidney cancer. And we are the same age. So my age now is the same age he was when he passed away, which kind of is a great it messes with your head a little bit, I can assure you. So went to the doctor the next day, and lo and behold, I had a raging kidney infection. Don't know how I got it. Couldn't tell you. Never had one before in my life, quite honestly. And they gave me some Cipro antibiotic. But I was, Eddie and I were sitting there and we were talking about it because, I mean, the amount of pain that I was in, along with the fever and the chills and then the sweats and, the whole 9 yards, and just the infection in your body. Natural medicine is great. It doesn't kick in quite as fast as, the stuff that they make now. So I can't imagine having to be in a downgrade situation, feeling like I felt like going through that. So modern medicine, some of pieces and parts of it are a great benefit. One of those, and Doom and Bloom talk about this on their website, and I have the link specifically in the book, but they talk about antibiotics and what to do in a downgrade situation if you can't get to a doctor or a hospital. And we've seen that with this Ebola thing, you risk catching Ebola if you go to the hospital for something else. If we've got an Ebola epidemic going on here, and I catch a kidney infection again, the last thing I want to do is go to the hospital where these people are. So, what are you going to do? They have an awesome site section pertaining to downgrade antibiotics, and it goes into the fact that a lot of the fish antibiotics, yes, that you give your goldfish when they're sick, or animal antibiotics, are just rebranded and sold to humans. And they give the lists and how much and, what's good for what and what, takes the place of, the animal versus the human and all that kind of stuff. If you haven't figured it out yet, the pharmaceutical industry is a big racket. I'm going to put a little air quote disclaimer in the middle of this. I've been invited to do the Ice Bucket Challenge. I absolutely refuse to do it based upon my findings of the company that people are sending money to. I have some issues and some challenges with how they distribute the money. When the CEO makes over $300,000 a year and they're begging for money to do research on pharmaceuticals that caused a lot of these issues to begin with. My grandfather had Lou Gehrig's disease, so it's near and dear to my heart, don't get me wrong. And I'm all for a cure, 100%. But when you start digging into and realize that blood pressure medicine, statins, things like that, cholesterol medication, cause a lot of these diseases, and we're going to give money to the company that makes these medicines to begin with, I'm sorry, I will not participate in something like that. If we want to find a natural cure and cure it from the ground up, have no problem whatsoever forking over some cash. But to give it to a pharmaceutical company that's part of the problem to begin with, and it just has snowballed into pure hell, can't do it. Can't morally and ethically do it. I'm all for a bucket of ice and having fun and, doing all that kind of stuff, but I'm sorry, I will not participate in something like that. That's my personal choice. You all make your own. That's totally up to you. But anyways, back to Doom and Bloom's site, doomandbloom.net. You can go there. They give all kinds of great information. And a lot of the animal antibiotics right now, I know there's a lot of fight going on right now to regulate them, but you still can get your hands on quite a few of those and get them in your preps, because sometimes a glass of cranberry juice just isn't going to cut it. Trust me on that. So get your thinking cap on and do what you need to do. But please go visit their site. I'm not going to go through all the information because there is a ton of it between the videos and the written word that they have. Doomandbloom.net. Get there. get the information. Antibiotics are sometimes a wonderful thing. And what you need, how it compares animal versus human, and how our lovely pharmaceutical company manipulates us into paying a higher price for the same exact medication. So definitely something you need to look into. Let's see here. Wanted to talk about bug out bags a little bit. We haven't really gotten into those. I have multiple bags that I utilize for different reasons. We have the long-term Alice Pack type, I'm going to go to the woods and live for 6 months kind of a bag. But do I utilize that all the time? No. It's packed, it's ready to go if I need to. But I have smaller packs. And I'm going to include my purse in there since I'm a girl. Because there's a wide variety of things that I keep in my purse, so I could technically classify it as a bug out bag. And then I have one that I keep in my vehicle. And if you don't have anything like this, please do yourself a favor and put something together. It's not going to cost that much, and it could save your ass in a multitude of different ways. And please, if you drive, make sure in your car is some kind of bag, get home bag. If you work in an office, say downtown, and you live out in the suburbs, do yourself a favor and get a bag together that you can keep in your desk. That could get you out of the building if you need to, and on your way home. These things don't have to be huge. I know a lot of people grab a bag, it's got to be tactical looking, and they grab every single functioning geeky prep out there, and they stuff it full, and by the time they're done, this thing weighs 80 pounds. And it's sitting there, and it looks glorious, and it's shining, and the sun is coming off of it, and it has this, halo above it and all of that, but you can't even lift the friggin' thing. And a lot of people don't put these things on and go test them out, too. So, back it down a little bit, and I want you to also think about when you're purchasing these things. I know tactical is cool right now, but in any downgrade situation, you're going to make yourself stick out like a sore thumb. So think about that. You can get solid black, the one I have, it's just solid black. Nothing to it. But so you don't look so military. If you're out there in a crowd and everybody is freaking out and panicking and they're trying to get home and you're walking down the road with this big tack pack on, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb, and they're probably going to come visit you. And chances are you're probably going to not make it very far after multiple people decide that you don't need that bag. So when you're thinking about a bug out bag, the first thing you need to look at is the bag itself. And make sure that I'm sorry, I just flipped over to the chat room, and good morning, everybody. And Jane Mom with the prep is in there, and she says, it's not a purse, it's a day bag. This chick does not carry a purse. Okay, we'll call it a day bag. Mine actually looks like a regular purse, though, and Jane has an awesome article up on her site, if she has time right now, if she can go snag it. But she did an entire blog post on a bag that she carries, which actually happens to be the same bag that I keep in my truck. And it's an awesome bag. It has a water bladder in it, the whole 9 yards. But it's a nice, smaller kind of bag that is great for a female, quite honestly. So if she has time, Jane, if you could do that and drop it in the chat room so everybody can see it, that would be great. If not, I understand. But some things that I want you to think about, even after you purchase the bag. Think about what fits you. You can go into any kind of backpacking store. If you're going to go the big route for the long-term bag, make sure it fits you correctly. I'm 6 foot tall, and when they measure you, they're going to measure the small of your back up to your shoulders. I'm going to be able to carry something a little bit larger than some other people out there. So it's not a one-size-fits-all for a long-term bag for the most part. So if you have the opportunity to get a bag that you can get fitted for, do it. You'll thank me in the long run, because if it's a long-term situation and you're going to be carrying this thing with a lot of weight in it, it needs to fit properly. And learn how to pack it correctly, too. But I could sit here and I could give you... thanks, Jane. Go to momwithaprep.com/moms/EDC. And that'll give you the article for it. But she has a lot of great information in there. But I could sit here and I could tell you, oh, you need this. Well, you get the idea. It's not going to do you any good to collect and just use your bug out bag to use for storage for all the cool things that you collect. So let's talk about categories that you need to look at instead of actual items themselves. In your bug out bag, depending on how you want to do this, you need to have, of course, let's start with water, because it seems to be the most important prep. Aside from your mindset and your knowledge prep, it's the number one prep. But for water, it's great that you have, water weighs a lot. It's like over 8 pounds per gallon of water. But you need a gallon a day. So if you're going to be gone for a week, are you going to be able to carry that much water? No, it isn't going to happen. You would have nowhere to put it or the strength to carry it all. So you do need to have some water in your bag, though. A couple bottles or 100 ounces minimum is usually standard of thumb when it comes to your bug out bag. So, but another thing to look at, though, with water specifically, the best thing to do with water, if you find it out when you're going about, is to boil it. They also make the tablets you can keep, too. Those are lightweight. You keep them in your bag. But one thing that you neglect a lot of times is to make sure that you have some kind of stainless steel water bottle with you that you can use to boil water in. So easy enough. You can pack that bottle then full of some of your other supplies. So all you have to do is remove them, but that way you don't have dead air inside the bottle itself. I have a canteen. I have a Life Straw, but I also have a canteen that works on the same premise as a Life Straw. That is a lot easier to use. If you've never used a Life Straw before, get one that you can practice with, because these things, you stick it in a mud puddle, like they advertise it for. This thing's a beast to try and suck water through. So, got hooked up with a company that does a canteen type deal, same thing. And instead of you having to suck the water up through, it's kind of like same premise with the canteen. You just squeeze it and have the head in the water and then release, and it'll take the water up itself, so you don't have to do it. Another thing that you should have, too, is an Nalgene bottle in your pack. Both of these can be filled with other supplies, so don't just throw them in your bag empty. They can hold other things, whether that be you put a water bottle in each one, or you keep medical supplies in each one. Everything in our pack that we carry is within something else. It's never just thrown in there by itself. Even our fishing kits, Eddie found online. If you've never seen them, I should take pictures of this and put it up. But our fishing kits that we have in our long-term preps, because we don't carry a fishing kit in our everyday kit. But in our long-term bag, in there is, it's a 2-liter bottle. Like the big Pepsi or Coke bottles that you can get, it's a 2-liter. But before it's actually blown up to the size that you see in the stores. So it looks like a little test tube. Greatest thing ever, holds all of our fishing supplies, the whole 9 yards. Great thing to have. So first thing, think about your water situation and take care of having immediate water for use, but then how are you going to replace that? Always think of your preps in that way. Do you have immediate use items, and then how are you going to replace those? 100 ounce minimum, and then you need some kind of purification filtration system, whether that's a Life Straw, whether that's the tablets. I would not carry bleach in your bag. That's getting a little dangerous there. But then how are you going to collect that? Have a stainless steel bottle that you can utilize and put in a fire if you have to boil the water. Food, you can go any way that you want to with that. I know, look at the weight things are. A lot of people will just pick up a can of tuna and throw in there. That can itself is great for utilizing over a fire if you want to go that route, but you can also find tuna fish in foil packs now too. So do you offset the weight with something like that? You know, you can pack your own MRE type meals. Just take the components and put them in a bag and vacuum seal them up. And there's all kinds of neat sites out there that you can make little hiking kits with for food. So all you have to do is put water in it and heat it up, and you're good to go. You'll need some kind of steel pot to use to heat this up with over a fire. Another thing too, I think is cool is if you've never seen it, cooking eggs in a brown bag over a fire. But some kind of heat stove. I have totally drawn a blank on what kind of little stove I keep in mind. I'll have to go check it out. But food, and learn to forage. You know, once you're out of your food and you're out there, what are you going to do? How are you going to replace it? So you need to know what kind of meals that you can gather from your surroundings where you're at. So I'm in Indiana, so I need to learn what's edible here in my area. And if I'm going someplace else, I might pick up a book and look and see what's edible in that area. If I'm on a business trip to Florida, same deal. I'm going to check and see just a few things that might be edible in that area in case something would happen. Light. You know, flashlights are cool. I really like headlamps. They keep your hands free to utilize for other things. And you can also get them with multicolor attachments to them for various reasons. But then you're going to need batteries too. Now, when you're looking at anything with a battery, how are you going to recharge that? Are you going to carry enough batteries to be able to change out your batteries? Or there's a solar chargeable battery out there. So, you know, decide what's best for you, and please test these things out. There is so much. Being a prepper is like the hottest thing right now, and there's so many pieces and parts of equipment out there that people are coming up with every day, and a lot of them are knockoffs, and you're going to pay the price for it if you get out there and you actually need this stuff to work. So when you purchase something, make sure you test it out. Make sure you know how it works. A cutting tool, whether that's a fixed blade knife. I have, we call them bushcraft knives. These things are awesome, but you also need like a multi-tool and like a pocket knife too, a folder, a bender, are always come in handy. There are also things that you can get. Well, the multi-tool itself should have something that you can cut small branches with. But I do have a chainsaw blade that fits into a nice little pouch that I keep too in my long-term bug-out bag. So that way I can cut larger items if I need to. And you can find those anywhere. Just like I said, test out what you get, make sure it actually functions the way it's supposed to, and play with it beforehand. Going camping, you know, is probably the funnest thing to do, and test out your supplies and make sure that they work. and you're still in a safe, enclosed environment. So it's not like you can't just hop in your car and leave if you need to. But please just get these preps. If you get these preps, get your bug out bag, take it and go out and go camping. You know, the hardest lesson we learned was, and this was years ago, and I think I've talked about this before. We had a bushcraft group that we used to go camping with, and the one location that we went to happened to be in southeastern Indiana, down along the Ohio River, and down south of Cincinnati. And we get down there. It's a little campground type place that somebody owned. You go back in, and we weren't actually in the campground, but the guy owned a bunch of property along a lake. So now, when you go bushcraft camping, it's a little different. You can only take your backpack, and that's it. So most of these guys had these sweet setups of hammocks instead of tents. And that's the first time I've been introduced to hammock camping. And I tell you what, best thing on the planet if you haven't tried it. But always, again, test these things out, because some of the guys there had the hammocks, and it was just a hammock. Other guys had this big elaborate setup. Well, we found out the difference real fast, because being down in the valley that we were at, it was in September, early October when we went. But as soon as the sun went down behind the hill, because we were down in there along the lake, the temperature dropped dramatically. And so everybody crawls into their nice, cozy sleeping environment, and you get up the next morning, and one of the guys, you look, and his hammock is just shaking up and down violently because he's shivering so bad, because the other guys had some kind of sleep mat that they put in the bottom that deters against the cold coming up through. So you have to test these things out. Air mattresses in cold temperatures are a big no-no. Because they pick up the ambient air temperature from whatever's around them. So if the temperature drops to like 20 degrees, your air mattress is going to pick up that temperature, and guess what? It's going to suck all your body heat out. So get out there and test these things out. So we need fire. We talked about, we talked about water, food, a cutting tool of some type. Fire would be the next thing. Yes, they make great matches out there. They have Strike Anywhere matches, which are awesome. They have, the Bic lighters and all that. My favorite thing, and I will hack this up, ferrocerium rod. I get mine from the survival store here in Indianapolis. Dave Canterbury, I don't know if he owns it or he's just associated with it or what, but he has a nice sized one, which just sounds wrong, doesn't it? Over there that you can get. We have a bunch of the smaller ones. A lot of our fixed blade knives that we carry in our packs actually have a fire steel rod in the back. If you've never used these, they can get wet, whatever. They're still going to light. Use the back of your knife to start it with, or a piece of flint or anything like that. And they're going to give you a spark. But, again, I can't stress enough, you have to practice with these things. Another thing that we keep in our packs is chaga, and it's just like pine. It's a fungus, but you also need to, educate yourself on being able to pick up, like, pine tar and things like that. We also have little packs of cotton balls soaked in Vaseline that you can use to start a fire with. Anything that'll grab that spark, heck, Frito chips will burn, crayons will burn, anything like that. Anything that'll grab that spark. And there's a technique to building a fire out in the wild. You can't just throw some logs down there and expect them to start. You need to educate yourself on the proper way to do that. You build it from, the smaller stuff up to the bigger, and give it time to grow. So educate yourself on how to properly build a fire. But matches can get wet and get ruined. Yeah, you can dip them in wax and all that fancy stuff. But a fire steel, a ferrocerium rod, one of the great things that you can get. Jane has a suggestion too, and a very good one. When you buy these rods, make sure you don't get the ones with the aluminum filler. They need to be the 100% rods. Again, there's a lot of people selling prepper items out there right now because people are buying this stuff. You find a cheap one in Walmart, it's probably going to have filler in it. You need to go to a specialty store like Dave Canterbury's store and buy one from there. It's a good one, and it's a good size too, as opposed to some of these smaller ones. Just make sure you know what you're getting and what you're paying for, because again, everybody can make a buck out there right now, and don't do it. Don't allow them to do that and cause you harm at the same time. So where are we at? Shelter. Easiest thing to keep with you, can't lug around a tent all the time, is get yourself a tarp. Best thing on the planet. Get a tarp. Emergency blankets. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. You're going to have to test them out. I've seen some that are just, and they're cheap, and they don't do a very good job. So get it, test it out. Bivy, some rope, some duct tape. Duct tape has to be the catch-all for everything. Just paracord, anything like that. You're going to need to utilize or learn the techniques to put that tarp up in a multitude of different positions depending on what's going on around you and what you have access to. But at least it will get you out of the rain if you need to, and out of the cold, if anything. But a tarp is lightweight. You can carry it with you, roll it up in your pack, and you're good to go. So we went through water, food, shelter, light, fire, a cutting tool. Another thing that you need to definitely have is some clothing with you. The most important is extra socks. Make sure that you keep your feet dry. You don't want to have wet feet at any time. It's going to be ugly. Make sure you dress in base layers so you can take stuff off if you have to, or add things if you need to. Boots. I talked about it before. There was a guy last winter that had left his office and got stuck in the snow, and this is down south. Got stuck in the snow, tried to walk home in his work shoes, his office dress shoes, and ended up losing multiple toes because those fancy-dancy, very expensive wingtip dress shoes just don't stand up to a good hike in the snow. So, if anything, throw some boots, hiking boots in the back of your car. Sunglasses are always something to have on hand. But gloves, a hat, some kind of eye protection are definitely a must. But can't stress enough, multiple pairs of socks. Medical, you can go with a standard medical kit. If you have a chance, again, Doom and Bloom has great kits that they sell themselves. But you can get just a standard first aid kit. But one thing that these smaller kits, they carry the Bactine, the Band-Aids, and things like that. Always get a tourniquet to keep with you. You can keep a bandana as part of your clothing and utilize that, or a belt. But if you can get yourself a tourniquet to keep with you at all times, that's always a plus too. We have a couple medical kits that we carry. Well, we have one in each of our vehicles that we keep a tourniquet in because they come in handy. But we also have the range bag, medical bag that we take with us that has a tourniquet in it too. So I know a lot of the first aid kits out there are great, but hardly any of them have a good tourniquet in it. Just make sure it's a good one, too. A lot of times you get some of these with the plastic thing that you twist, and those will break off. So make sure that you're going to get what you pay for. Make sure that if you have prescription glasses, I know I wear a pair. Do I need to? I have a nearsight issue, so seeing far away for me can be an issue. Do I keep an extra pair of glasses with me? It's not going to hurt anything. Luckily, Eddie is farsighted, so we kind of balance each other out if we have to. And then also, if you're on any kind of prescription meds for any reason at all, you're going to want to carry some extra ones in your pack. Communication would be the next category. AM/FM radio. You can get a crank solar type kind of thing, so that way you're always finding out what's going on around you, but make sure that it works. A lot of those have also a flashlight type device on them, and it can be recharged with the solar and along with the crank. So test them out ahead of time. A lot of good ones out there. Again, a lot of coal prepper stuff that are coming out that don't necessarily work as well. 30 years ago, I would say carrying a ham radio with you was going to be bizarre, because back then, they were huge, kind of like the brick phones when they first came out, the brick cell phones, we called them. But nowadays, you can actually get a ham radio that's handheld and quite small. We have a set of the Bowell things. I don't know if that's how you say it, but that's what we call it. And it's a great little ham radio. It fits right in the palm of your hand, and it'll get a little bit of distance. I'm not going to skip cross country or anything like that, but at least I can get to, my partner who might be in the woods with me or within the same town that I'm in. You want longer range. You can get the better ones. I know the Bow things, usually a lot of people, when they purchase those, they get the upgraded antenna that comes with it. So the battery life on those things is phenomenal. I think I've let it sit for over a week and still have full charge on a battery. But again, make sure that you get some extra batteries and chargers that go with it. You also might look at how are you going to recharge a lot of this stuff, and you're going to carry the extra batteries. I have multiple solar charger devices that roll up, which is awesome, and I can slide that right down into my backpack. In my everyday carry bag, or my purse as I refer it to, I always have a solar charger that's in there. I think I paid $20 for it. Hooks up to my cell phone, just throw it in the sun, and it'll charge my cell phone right up, as opposed to having to plug my cell phone into the wall if I need to. And the thing is the same size as my cell phone. It's not. Yeah, actually, it's probably a little smaller. It also has a little light on it if I need it. But it's a great device to have, and it doesn't take up a whole lot of room. So it's an emergency situation, I can just take the thing and get some of my devices charged up. It's not going to charge up a full-fledged radio or anything like that. It's intended to charge up like a cell phone. So when you're purchasing these things, remember that. If you need something larger charged up, you're going to have to get a device that is suited for that. I have a big rollout pad that I can get to charge up my laptop if I need to, but if I'm in a situation and I'm on the run, I'm probably not going to have my laptop with me. A weapon, if you're going to have all of this, what kind of how are you going to protect yourself? As a prepper, most people lean towards, I'm going to have a firearm. Well, some people don't always agree with that. So other options, such as pepper spray, some kind of other fighting device that you could utilize. One of those could be a knife. If you're trained in close quarter combat, hand-to-hand or anything like that, might be the option for you. I personally carry firearms, so I'm going to need extra ammunition. It's going to get heavy after a while. So pick and choose your battles with that one. I never would carry a firearm in my bug-out bag or my purse, everyday carry or whatever. I'm a big proponent of carrying it on my person. I don't care for the purses that are out there. Do they have a time and a place for that? Possibly, If there's, for some reason, you can't carry a firearm on your person, I can't think of any reason, quite honestly. We have way too many options out there at this time. Luckily, the firearms industry is starting to cater to females, which I think is great. So make sure that, that choice is yours to make. I personally do not agree with off-body carry. But if you have to, you have to. Would I keep it in a bug-out bag? Definitely not. Extra ammunition. They make the pouches that you carry on your belt, the ammo pouches. Once that's full, could you put some in the bottom of your bug-out bag or in some outside pouches? Most definitely. But make sure that you weigh this thing and that you can pick it up and that you take it out hiking sometime. That you don't throw it in the corner or the back of your truck or wherever and just leave it there. You need to be able to trek with this thing for however many miles. Start small and go out for a mile, go to 3, go to 5, go up to 8, go to 10. See how you're going to be able to pack this thing. I talked to Jason Charles. Oh, goodness. He was probably one of my first interviews over a year ago. And we got to talking about bug-out bags. And, this dude's a firefighter in New York City. And I don't remember how much he said his bug-out bag weighs. For some reason, I'm thinking like 75 pounds. And it's like, oh, my goodness, I would die if my bug-out bag weighed 75 pounds. He trains with his. He can carry his. He knows what he can do. And see, right in the middle of this, I remember that stove that I carry in my bug-out bag. It's called a BioLite, and it has a little phone charger that's attached to it. But a great little stove. You don't need fuel for it. You just use twigs that are out in the woods. You throw it in the bottom. It's like a one of those little stoves. Yeah. Anyways, research it. It's called a BioLite. It's a great little stove. I got a prototype when they kicked off on Kickstarter and have it since then. But look at each department that we just talked about and then branch off from there. We are almost out of time. Let me see if I can do this.